welcome to this Introduction to Music Fundamentals B video. In this video, we're going to be looking at degrees of the scale. And this is quite important when we're going to start working with chords and triads, because we need to know how to be able to name them. So let's start at the beginning. Each successive note of the scale is called a scale degree. So you'll see, if you look on the screen now, that I've written out F major scale. You'll see that the first note is F, then G, A, B, C, D, E, and F. And then underneath you'll see that I've given them each a number. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and octave. I've called it an octave because the first note and the last note share a special relationship in that they've got the same letter name. So the first and the octave are basically the same as each other, just with that octave relationship. Important here is that when a scale descends, the degrees work in reverse. So we don't start with 1 at the top and go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We start with the lowest note being 1. It's the same as when you're working with intervals. The lowest note is the one that you start with. Okay, so if we look at the screen now, you'll see that the first degree is still the lowest note, even though it's not the first note. Okay, so in this example, we start with the octave, then we go to the 7th, then the 6th, then the 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. It's very important that you remember this, because if we label chords incorrectly, or if we label a minor scale incorrectly, it affects the way that the scale works or the chords work. So it's very important that when you're working with a descending scale, you start with the degrees at the very bottom, or the lowest note. All right, now, there are technical names for each of the degrees of the scale. The first note is always called tonic. So in F major scale, the tonic is F. Okay. Sometimes if you've done something like tonic solfa, you'll know that the first note is do. But the name tonic solfa means that you're working with the first note of a scale. Okay, and in this case, the tonic is F. Tonic solfa works. It's a movable do system, which is why it's called tonic solfa. Tonic means first note. All right. So the first note of F major scale is, or the first note, tonic is F. If we went to a different scale, let's say C scale, the tonic would be C. If we looked at A flat, the tonic would be A flat. It's the first note. All right. Now, the next important notes are the dominant and the subdominant. And this is how they work. These notes are a fifth above and a fifth below the tonic. So if we're working in F major, a fifth above is F, G, A, B, C. Okay, so C above F is called the dominant. Then the subdominant, sub means underneath. Okay, so a fifth beneath the tonic, if we go backwards, F, E, D, C, B. A fifth below the tonic is the subdominant, that's B flat. So a fifth above is C, a fifth below is B flat. That's what we call dominant, and sub, because it's underneath, dominant. Then we get something called mediant. Now, mediant means in the middle. What it means, it's in the middle between the tonic and the dominant. It's the middle note between the tonic and the dominant, or for the submediant, between the tonic and the between the tonic and the subdominant. Okay, so let's have a look at what they are. In F major, if we go up 3 notes, F, G, A, we get the letter name A. That is the mediant. It's between F and C. The dominant was C, the tonic is F, the mediant is A. It's in the middle. Likewise, if we go backwards from F, F, E, D, we get the mediant between the tonic and the subdominant. And because it's underneath the tonic, it's called the submediant. Okay, so the mediant is above, the submediant underneath is below. Then we get notes that are directly above and below the tonic. The first note, which is above the tonic, G, in this case, F, G, is called supertonic. And in this case, super means above. All right, so supertonic. The note just above the tonic is the supertonic. It's a G in this case. Then, if we go just underneath the tonic, it's called the leading note. It's called the leading note because it's a semitone from E to F, from the 7th note to the 8th note. And that semitone creates a feeling of forward movement, as though it's going to go forward. Okay, so it's leading you to the tonic. That's why it's called the leading note. So the note just above the tonic is called the supertonic. The note just underneath the tonic is called the leading note because it's pushing you towards the tonic. Okay, if you know tonic solfa at all, there are hand signals for each of these degrees of the scale. And the signal for the leading note is the hand pointing up like this. It's showing you that we're pointing towards going to the tonic, which is always this. Leading note, tonic. Now, if we were to write all of these out in a row, this is what it would look like. The first note is tonic. The second note is supertonic. The third note is mediant. Okay, so far so good. The fourth note is subdominant. When I showed you just now, the subdominant was underneath the tonic, but now I've just transposed it up an octave. Okay, there's the subdominant. Then the dominant. The submediant, I've also transposed an up an octave, but you first saw it when it was underneath the tonic. Okay, I've just transposed it up an octave. Then we get the leading note, and then the top note, I've not got anything there. The reason is because, remember I said at the beginning, the first note and the octave share a special relationship. They are the same. So we start with tonic again. The top note is also called tonic. So tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, leading note, tonic. You need to learn these off by heart. You must be able to say them in your sleep. If I woke you up in the middle of the night and asked you to list these degrees of the scale, you would have to be able to do it even though you're half asleep. Learn them by heart. It's very, very important that you be able to do these without even thinking about it. And that's where we end today's lesson.